6:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Anjana Dudamgoda, assisted by Sanjay, and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. The President urges young lawyers to form a committee to lead new legal developments in the port city. The Minister of Power and Energy says no decision to suspend the QR system. The World Bank provides Sri Lanka with $400 million financing. 400 million rupees allocated to cultivate paddy by parachute method. The government is to auction illegally imported cosmetic items. Foreign news, US warns China against providing lethal aid for Russia's war in Ukraine. And sports, Jack Leach gives England chance of historic victory. News in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe has urged the young lawyers to specialize in new areas such as the offshore economy law to lead new legal developments in the Colombo port city. Addressing the annual general meeting of the Royal College Lawyers Association held at the Blue Ballroom of the Hilton Colombo recently, where President Ranil Wickremesinghe attended as the chief guest, he suggested the development of the new port city as a financial centre with an offshore economy law. Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara says that no decision has been taken to suspend the National Fuel Pass QR system from April 10th. In a tweet, Minister Wijesekara revealed that the National Fuel Pass data will be analysed to gradually increase the quotas allocated. Furthermore, the decision on the system will be taken in consultation with the Finance Ministry and other stakeholders in the next few months, the ministry expressed. The International Finance Corporation, the World Bank's investment arm, said it will provide Sri Lanka with $400 million cross-currency swap facility to help fund essential imports. 3 private banks will receive the facility to fund about 30% of imports, including medicine, food and fertilizer, the IFC said in a statement today. The funds will provide much-needed foreign exchange cushion for Sri Lanka, which is grappling with its worst financial crisis in over 7 decades, partly triggered by a severe shortage of dollars. Sri Lanka economy is estimated to have contracted by 9.2% in 2022 and is expected to shrink a further 4.2% in 2023, according to World Bank data. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. This year, 400 million rupees have been allocated to cultivate 13,000 acres of paddy using the parachute technology. The Ministry of Agriculture says that attention is also focused on starting a program of providing nursery trays free of charge to all farmers. Parachute method is a technique of tossing rice seedlings uprooted from plastic trays containing a soil ball in a projectile manner into the puddled field. Seedling broadcasting technology of rice as a method of field establishment of paddy was invented in China and introduced to major irrigated areas in the country by the Rice Research Institute at Batlagoda in 2005. The government is considering auctioning some items of a consignment of cosmetic items valued at nearly 50 million rupees that had been illegally imported to Sri Lanka, State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siambalapitiya said. Speaking to the media, the State Minister said that nearly 4 containers of cosmetic items have been seized by the Sri Lanka Customs for having been illegally imported. State Minister Ranjit Siambalapitiya further stated that the items will therefore be inspected and those found to be of the stipulated standards of Sri Lanka will be auctioned to the local market. And that ends local news for now.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka has informed the IGP to provide a report within 24 hours regarding the incident where the police used tear gas and water cannons to disperse protesters at Union Place in Colombo yesterday, despite a court order not being issued preventing such protests. Issuing a statement today, the HRCSL said its attention has been directed towards the incident where around 28 persons were injured after police had fired tear gas and water cannons at a protest march organized by the National People's Party yesterday in the vicinity of Union Place in Colombo, despite a court order not being issued preventing a protest march in that area. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, authorities are planning to include training on first aid in addition to the written and practical tests for obtaining a driver's license. A discussion was held recently on the proposed awareness program to be launched jointly by the Red Cross Society, Sri Lanka Police and other relevant institutions. In order to provide this training in a more formal manner, the program focused on including a section on first aid training in the written and practical tests that will be held in the future for granting a driver's license. Also, it was proposed to implement a program to provide first aid training to staff working on the highways. And that came to you in Watchlight. Now, moving on to a bulletin of world news in the headlines. US warns China against providing lethal aid for Russia's war in Ukraine. Rampaging Israeli settlers burn Palestinian homes, cars in Nablus. And Netflix cuts prices for subscribers in more than 30 countries. The United States warned China of serious consequences were it to provide arms to support Russia's invasion of Ukraine as Kyiv's top general visited the frontline town of Bakhmut, where Ukrainian defenders were holding out against constant attacks. Washington and its NATO allies are scrambling to dissuade China from providing military aid for Moscow's war, making public comments on the belief that Beijing is considering providing lethal equipment, possibly including drones. Israeli settlers have set dozens of Palestinian homes and cars on fire in Huara, a town in the occupied West Bank city of Nablus, in what appeared to be the worst outburst of settler violence in decades. Palestinian media said some 30 homes and cars were torched during late-night settlers' rampage that came a day after 2 settlers were killed. Earlier this month, 11 Palestinians were killed in an Israeli military raid in Nablus. The Palestinian Health Ministry said a 37-year-old man was shot and killed by Israeli fire on Sunday. Streaming giant Netflix has cut prices in more than 30 countries as it attempts to attract more subscribers. Prices have been cut in parts of Asia, Europe, Latin America, Sub-Saharan Africa, and the Middle East. It comes as the rising cost of living sees households tightening their belts, and Netflix faces increased competition from rival services. Back to the headlines of the world news. US warns China against providing lethal aid for Russia's war in Ukraine. Rampaging Israeli settlers burn Palestinian homes, cars in Nablus. And Netflix cuts prices for subscribers in more than 30 countries. And that ends World News.
Development News.
The Minister of Power and Energy has sought expressions of interest for the establishment of a petroleum refinery and associated products processing centre in Hambantota. The ministry has invited EOIs from eligible investors, consortiums or joint ventures to express their interest for the establishment of an export-oriented petroleum refinery and associated product processing centre in the Hambantota area on build, own and operate basis, with a special emphasis on the feasibility of deployment of a viable business model using their own funds. And that was Development News. Now moving on to sports news, it's cricket. England need 210 more runs to win the second test after finally dismissing New Zealand for 483 on day 4 in Wellington. Kane Williamson made a faultless 132 and Tom Blundell 90 as the Black Caps ground their way back into the game after being asked to follow on. It left England needing to pull off the highest run chase by any team that has enforced the follow-on in a test, while only 3 other teams have ever made more than New Zealand following on against England. And that was sports news.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyamata set wenna as wahagena dagapugina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship ekamenna.
The all-new NSB Itru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Coming together to make a lasting impact on the lives of children in Sri Lanka, over 450,000 Dialogue customers donated over 27 million rupees via Star Points towards Little Hearts initiative in 2022, where over 122 million rupees has been donated to the initiative via Star Points since 2016. The Little Hearts initiative is conducted by the Sri Lanka College of Pediatricians with an objective of facilitating the development of a 12-story cardiac and critical care complex at Lady Ridgeway Hospital in aid of children with heart disease and critical illnesses. And that was Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekakthiyana youth ekata life eke change ekata niyamata set wenna as wahagena dagapugina habe karanna youth ekata niyamata set wenna friendship ekamenna.
The all-new NSB Itru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Economic news, courtesy of...
For the 5th consecutive year, LOLC is awarded People's Financial Services Brand of the Year at the 2022 Slim Kantar People's Awards. As the People's Financial Services Brand of the Year, LOLC continues to place the customer first. And this has won the hearts, minds and trust of Sri Lankans, with yet another prestigious award as proof of this lasting commitment. LOLC. Imagine the possibilities.
In economic news, the Monetary Board of the Central Bank has decided to reduce mandatory sale of export proceeds, receipts and inward workers' remittances of commercial banks with effect from today. Accordingly, commercial banks will now have to sell only 15% of such receipts weekly to the Central Bank, down from 25%, which was in effect from December 2021. The Central Bank said the move was aimed at encouraging market-driven foreign exchange activities in the domestic forex market. The new operating instructions are applicable on converted inward workers' remittances, converted service sector export proceeds receipts, and the residual value of mandatory converted export proceeds of goods. And that was economic news.
LOLC Finance is taking the power of innovation to the next level, winning 5 golds at the Technovation Awards 2022, leading the digital revolution with cutting-edge interbanking digital payments. LOLC Finance claims the overall gold award, whilst also claiming an extraordinary victory in digital banking.
Weather report.
The Meteorology Department says rainy condition is expected to enhance in some extent over the island tomorrow. Showers will occur at times in the eastern and north central provinces and in Mullaitivu and Martley districts. Fairly heavy showers above 75 millimeters can be expected at some places in the eastern and Uva provinces. Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places in the western and Sabaragamu provinces and in the Kandy, Nuwara Eliya and Mathura district during the afternoon or night. Fairly heavy showers above 50 millimeters can be expected at some places in the above areas. Several spells of showers may occur in the northern province. Fairly strong gusty winds of about 40 kilometers per hour can be expected over northern, north central, central and northwestern provinces and in the Trincomalee and Hambantota districts. General public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damage caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. And that was the weather report. And before we conclude this news broadcast, the headlines once again. The President urges young lawyers to form a committee to lead new legal developments in the port city. The Minister of Power and Energy says no decision to suspend the QR system. The World Bank provides Sri Lanka with $400 million financing. 400 million rupees allocated to cultivate paddy by parachute method. the government is to auction illegally imported cosmetic items. Foreign news, US warns China against providing lethal aid for Russia's war in Ukraine. Sports, Jack Leach gives England chances of historic victory. And with that, we end this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.